So, there's another Terminator sequel. You know, I was going to do videos on each of the Terminator movies, but only really if the movie was good. Or because I just got lazy and procrastinated. But still, I hadn't actually seen the first Terminator, so I watched that before going to see this. I'd seen all the other Terminators, but not the first one. And I had watched the second one like a ton of times, because that's a really good movie. I had just never seen the first, I'm not sure why. Now, I hadn't seen the second trailer that came out for this movie that kind of gave away a big spoiler. So in case you hadn't seen that, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Because it is a pretty interesting reveal, but that doesn't really save the movie. This movie is retelling the events of the things that happened in the first Terminator, where Kyle Reese is being sent back to 1984 to protect Sarah Connor. But in this alternate timeline, Sarah Connor has a Terminator of her own that raised her as a kid. And his skin and hair has been aging, so that's why they were able to use Arnold Schwarzenegger again. So Kyle Reese is saved by Sarah Connor from a T-1000, which is the liquid metal Terminator, and the first half of this movie is basically a huge rehash. Not only is it a rehash, but it has some of the same exact shots from the first movie. Not the literal same shots, but they reshot it to look like the first movie. And then there are some scenes that kinda look like they're from Terminator 2, but they're with the different T-1000? Or is that the same T-1000? I mean, they're different actors, but... I mean, Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese are obviously different actors, but they made them look kinda the same? I mean, they don't really sound the same. And speaking of that, the acting isn't that great. And the second half is just really bland. There's not really a lot of good, memorable action moments like in the first two movies. And it's a huge CG fest. There's also talk about alternate timelines, but it gets really convoluted and you're like, I don't care. So this movie in the beginning is trying way too hard to be like the first two, and then in the second half, trying way too hard to be its own thing. Now, I hate to compare this to Jurassic World because that's really killing everything right now. But the reason Jurassic World succeeded is because it had references that were sort of subtle, but also very funny and just overall just fun. And it went over the top in a really good way in the end. But in this, the references to the old movies are like so in your face, are like, remember we made these, you would probably rather be watching these, because they're literally like the same shots. Jurassic World was able to be its own thing, while still referencing but not overbearingly. This movie in the first half does it really overbearingly, and then in the second half it just gets dumb and bland. There aren't really any memorable action sequences like in the first two movies. And I just saw a featurette with James Cameron, like, saying to go see this movie, and he is a huge sellout for saying that. Because this movie is not good. It's probably better than Salvation, but still, it's not good. Action movies really need to step it up, especially after Mad Max this year. Hardcore Terminator fans might still get a little something out of it, but I'm not sure it's what they really wanted. So overall, it's not very good and you'd be better off seeing Jurassic World or Mad Max again. So if you saw Terminator Genisys, tell me what you thought in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I'd like to give thanks to my patrons this month. Thank you so much for supporting me. It really helps out a lot. And if you'd like to support me, click the annotation for the Patreon link. And if you want more movie reviews, click the playlist. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.